was your favourite band when you were younger?
God.
Or singer, or like any? Who did you listen to? Who did you?
I think music developed for me. I liked a bit of everything.
Did you?
Yeah. I mean, it was the era of the Spice Girls, which I know. I mean, come on.
I was both ends of the spectrum. I was Spice Girls and Eminem.
I mean, who didn't like
Who's
like
your
the Spice
favourite
Girls?
Spice Girl?
Oh, at the time was definitely Posh.
Oh, at the time, not now. She's still a vibe.
Yeah.
I feel like she's got better with age, actually. Don't you?
All I ever see when I'm scrolling through Facebook is the different posts about how Victoria Beckham eats the same meal every day and has done for 20 years.
Oh my
It's
God,
like fish and steamed vegetables.
I eat the same meal every day too, but only at lunchtime. Peppers, the mini ones from Aldi.
Oh,
Right.
sweet peppers.
Why are they so
Love a
much
sweet
nicer than a
pepper.
normal pepper?
Oh, they're lush. Alfie loves them.
And those mini cucumbers.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing out.
Yeah, you are. Go on your
You're
way.
an Aldi
On your way
shopper,
back. On your way back, they're there. £1. They were £1.29 last week. Yesterday they were £1.35. Cheek.
Inflation.
Joke. So the Spice Girls were your favourite? Seriously?
Yeah. Well, like I say, mixed vibes. Oasis as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
fair.
Good solid shout there. Charlie. Eminem.
Yeah,
I was an Eminem fan.
Eminem fan when I was growing
Huge
up.
50 Cent fan I was.
Were you?
We had him on in the car the other day. Well, abruptly we had to turn it off because Archie's picked up some lyrics.
Which are not appropriate.
No, they're not awful. There are worse lyrics he could have picked up, but they're not ideal. And I was like rapping. Josh was like, how do you know this? I was like, oh, I loved 50 Cent back in the day.
Yeah.
But Blue were my favourite.
Yeah, I liked Blue as well. I had their posters.
Yeah, I had their posters. I
Yeah.
watched them like 6 times in concert. I cried every single time. I
Yeah.
really loved them.
I liked the Black Eyed Peas
Yeah.
as I got a bit older. And Example. I went to see an Example live.
Miley Cyrus was my second favourite.
I liked her when she was a bit crazy, though.
Oh, yeah.
I liked her when she was a bit crazy.
Miley?
I'm lost. Like I
What
kind of had
about-
a gap in the music.
What about
kind
S
of-
Club 7?
I'm
Wait,
really
you're
feeling
not that much older than me, are you? What year were you born?
84.
No, you weren't.
I think I know I did when I was born. Yeah, I was 84.
You're actually way older.
It's good moisturiser.
And a tan. The post-holiday tan.
Yeah.
What, you born in 84? So
Yeah,
what,
definitely.
You're like 30
38. 39 in 2 weeks.
in 2
Oh, is it
weeks.
2
Oh, yeah, you're a
weeks?
July baby,
Oh,
aren't
yeah.
you?
Yeah. 40 next year.
I'm 30 this year.
Oh, the big 4-0
I'm so
mark.
sorry, mate.
I know.
The big 4.
Don't apologise. It's fine. I've had my time.
Apparently life starts at 40.
Well, I'll let you know.
Hack it. Are you knocking? You're not knocking on for 40, are you? 35. You're halfway through.
I'll be there
That
first.
was a very firm, I'm definitely not.
That's line in the sand. I'll be there first.
Yeah. What about you?
Let us know how it goes.
What year were you born, Charles?
Thanks.
96.
So you're 27.
See
I
this.
think I'm 27, yeah.
You just
I
had your
forget this
birthday.
year. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
forget
I'm
this
30
year.
this year and we're 3 years apart.
Yeah,
So that makes sense.
yeah, I forget. I have to ask my brother how old he's going to be to remember how old I'm going to be. 'Cause I
Yeah.
just forget.
Yeah, you
I think
do.
Since having kids.
It's because age is just a number. Who
Yeah.
cares?
I know, but now I've just realised that probably when we were having the Spice Girls conversation, they were around in 97, 98, 99, I reckon.
Yeah.
And you were just being born.
Yeah, she was born to the Spice Girls. No, I think they were earlier. I don't know.
I thought they were later because I'd have had to have been old enough to listen to, like, have albums and
Yeah.
stuff like that, you know?
I'm fairly sure I left secondary school in
loved,
2000 and they were around before that.
I
So it's
loved All
definitely late 90s.
Saints. Does anyone
Oh,
remember
Pure
All
Shores.
Saints? Pure Shores
Absolute banger.
and Black Coffee. I loved them. They just remind me of my mum because she used to have this like orange Golf, like burnt orange, and we used to listen to All Saints all the time. It was a vibe.
That sounds
I was like 6 or 7 then. It was amazing. Love them. We still play them in the office sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, you should. We'll go back up there and have a
We should
little
have, like, a
30-second dance off to All Saints.
Yeah, we have
It's more of a
Kiss
sway,
haven't we?
actually.
We like History. They play some bangers, don't they?
Yeah.
What's your
Yeah.
favourite song of all time?
Again, it varies. It just like depends on the mood.
Or like, was your wedding song your favourite?
I'm going to say yes because my wife might watch this.
Hopefully she will.
It was called The One by Codaline.
Right.
Can you sing it to us?
Absolutely not. But I have got the lyrics on something at home.
When you
which I
say
bought
wedding song, was that
First
the
dance song.
First dance,
Yeah,
okay. And what would
Codaline.
your first dance song be?
Oh, I don't know. I've not thought of that.
Yours would be Stan.
No, know. I don't know what mine would be. I don't know. I'm not like a very romantic person.
No,
I
ours wouldn't
say.
be like a romantic song.
I don't think mine would be like very slow and romantic. I wouldn't. Have
I think
thought.
I would
Mine would
have
probably be like a cover of
something.
I would have thought is my guess, but I haven't really thought about that.
I would have
yeah.
Ordinary People by John Legend because it's like about argument.
Yeah.
It's just like a real song, you know? Like, it's not like, oh my God, I love you so much. We're going to be together forever and ever. It's like, no, this is life.
Maybe you just bring Miley Wrecking Ball back in or something.
Maybe just
What do you reckon Josh's would be?
if it involves wedding, there's no Josh.
Yeah.
So I don't know who I'm talking about my first dance with, but could be anyone at this point.
Yeah.
If you're listening.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I haven't thought about it much, but I got my first dance. And by the way, the dress is available as well that I've seen.
Dress is on pre-order. I've already picked out my own ring.
I actually bought my dress in a sample sale. No, I didn't really. Considered it.
Wow.
Considered it, but
Could
no,
you
I
just get
didn't.
away with telling Josh that he's got an appointment at Kingscote or something? Just get him to turn up.
Well, I have actually told him a date that I want to get married, like a sentimental date
Nice.
in 2025.
Right.
But there's no chance, is there?
He might surprise you.
I imagine I'll be like 84 and one of us will be dying and he'll be like, we better get married.
But before we do, I've got another vow to get to in North Swindon.
And I'll just be like, why are you still working
I'll take on
hard?
over an Abbey Farm back in an hour.
So yeah, anyway,
Yes.
we better talk about some real stuff. Village life.
Village life.
So can we hear how selling village property differs from how it might work in West, North, East, Old Town, that kind of thing? What's involved that makes it different?
I would say probably the difference mostly is the type of housing, actually. So we obviously a lot of equestrian property, land, thatched, everything in between,
Yeah.
period. We do get some like new builds and stuff like that, but you know, that's probably our biggest differentiator.
I suppose there's
and
like
being
more of a
specialist in them
variation,
areas.
isn't there, of property?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And obviously different postcodes carry slightly different values.
Yeah.
And that can be quite massive, actually, the difference.
Mark, as you've gone from earlier working in like Stratton,
Yeah.
how is it now like out in Highworth? Like what would you find is the main, what did it take the longest to get used to? Apart from the fact, obviously, you know Stratton like the back of your hand.
Well, I think I just getting used to the different prices, like Charlie said, postcodes,
Yeah.
different villages. Almost you travel down the A419 towards Cirencester, and virtually every village
In
as you
between.
get closer to
Yeah.
the A419 gets slightly more expensive. So it's really understanding the value of the village that you're in, what prices.
The demand for that village. Certain villages carry higher demand than others.
Yeah.
Letchshade is always a massively sought after place to be.
Letchshade is lush, isn't it?
It's lovely, but it's just, you know, step one town further and the demand's not
As-
it's
yeah,
not as
yeah,
high,
yeah.
and you're talking maybe a mile. You
Yeah.
know, the
We cover.
distance.
We do SN6, SN7, Farringdon area. We do SN26, Blunsdon. We do GL postcodes.
We do some OX postcodes.
We go to OX postcodes, and we've even sort of gone, if we go towards Lambourne, RG postcodes as well. So having a real kind of understanding of the value of each of those, the
Yeah.
average house price, pound per square foot in each of those areas, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and also understanding the caveats around land as well. So obviously a lot of the properties that we go to value will come with land, but that land might carry a different value if it's got, you know, potential for building.
yeah,
on
or there's
it.
a clawback agreement or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we go out to a lot of properties in conservation areas, a lot of protected
Yeah.
trees in and around the
Yeah, TPOs,
properties.
grade 2 listed.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot actually.
Yeah,
when you
there
put
is
it,
a lot.
when
When
you
you
actually start talking
when you
about it, there's a
ask.
lot.
Yeah, there is a lot. Yeah.
And so do you think something that you guys are really good at is finding out about those things that are slightly different before something goes on the market, so that when you've got buyers looking around, you kind of can fuel them with all that information before anything goes any further?
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. Particularly when I'm out on valuations, I'll ask lots and lots of questions, and sometimes I'll get told, "Oh, the other agents haven't asked that," and it's because I know to ask it.
Yeah.
Because I know that it matters and it's important.
I And I suppose that saves a lot of potential problems further down the line.
It does.
Because those buyers can make informed decisions on clawback agreements and TPO that might be blocking an upstairs window or whatever it might be,
Yeah, absolutely.
rather than finding out later and it will be in a bit of a shock.
Yeah, and a lot of simple things like shared access. We have an awful lot of shared access on property. It's really
And what
common
was
to
that
have a little
one
lane.
the other day when I was in with you and Pete came back from doing a survey and did it have an outbuilding, was it?
Oh
Outside?
yeah, in Highworth, the cottage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what was it? Garage, outbuilding, shed? Bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm
Whatever
struggling
someone wants it to
yeah,
be.
absolutely. Struggling to find a word to describe it, but yes, I mean, and it was completely separate away from the property, so the surveyor wouldn't have even wouldn't have even known it was there unless
Yeah.
we told him because it was something that was attached away.
Yeah.
and although that's not grade, that building's not grade listed, is it?
No, it's not.
There is stipulations around what can and can't be done
Yeah.
specifically in that particular area. So
I think apparently the outside wall was described as a wall of interest.
A wall
was
of
it?
interest.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Historical must be.
I'm looking into it.
Someone, maybe one of the Spice Girls built it. You never know.
yeah.
Has that, and that's
I'm not
something
going to lie, but I think I'm going to doubt that happened. But
when they were in between tours or something.
Yeah.
So is that something you knew before? Did
no,
the
but I
sellers
don't
know?
think the sellers knew either because
Okay.
part of our sort of systems is we do a questionnaire for any property that comes to the market where
Yeah.
we do ask these types of questions. Is there any additional information that we would feel that's important to let any buyers know ahead of agreeing a sale? And I don't think that they were aware of it
No,
either.
that's interesting.
So, you know,
Owners don't know everything.
No.
No, owners don't necessarily know everything. So quite often we'll come away with our own questions that we'll have to investigate ourselves
Yeah.
through the councils.
And I suppose
you know,
also
other
if someone's typically, I suppose, village properties are lived in possibly longer than maybe housing like North, West
sources. Yeah,
Swindon.
generally, yeah.
So I'd forget stuff. If I'd been in a house 30 years and someone was like, which side of the fence do you own? I'd be like, I got no idea.
yeah,
Been here such a long time, I couldn't tell you.
yeah.
Pick
yeah,
one.
and also obviously the laws and stuff have changed quite a lot over the last, let's say, 30 years. I went out to a property yesterday where they've got a shared driveway, and they've not really got any documentation around that. It's just something that they inherited, and
Yeah.
the neighbours are all friends, and it's fine.
Yeah, it's
you know,
kind of like
there's
a fake law almost.
yeah, almost. It's like a precedence there,
Yeah.
but
There's
there's no
no-
meat on the bone.
Yeah.
Almost. It's yeah.
I think one of the things that we found as well is where properties maybe do come with a lot of land or more land. How many times we've seen it where land's been sold off and what people
all
think is
the
their
time.
garden and their land. And like we always try to print a title plan before we go out and look at a property. We've got
Yeah.
the technology available to do that. And we had a property in Blunsdon, didn't we? Where it looked like, technically speaking, they had the whole garden. But
Right.
according to the land registry, it was only 3/4, and the other bit was on a separate title that nobody could actually find. And that delayed a sale. Now,
Oh.
the owner obviously was naturally convinced he owned the whole lot.
Yeah, yeah.
But according to the title plan and as it was picked up, he only had 75% of the garden.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
this separate plot was there. So one of the things that we do make sure that we try to do is get a title plan before going out, just to make sure that when we are there and we are looking around, that it matches up with what politely the owner's
Yeah.
expecting it to be. And that does
Yeah.
allow us to spot some bits in advance.
We
Yeah.
also have technology that allows us to map out plots and acreage as well. So even if the owner's not so convinced of their own plot size
You
or their
can
own
remeasure.
acreage, we can measure and work that out for them.
Yeah,
'cause obviously it's quite important.
I did have a house in Wombat actually with a similar problem to that. They had like a paddock and then a separate field, and it was agricultural, so they weren't allowed. You couldn't have done anything
Yeah.
with it apart
Yeah.
from put cows or sheep or whatever, floats your boat on there. And actually, it transpired that the paddock, although that was kind of between the garden and the bit of agricultural land, it wasn't theirs.
Yeah.
But they again had assumed after all this time that it was, and they'd put their own horses in there.
Yeah.
And yeah,
It's really
for
common.
some reason the land registry just hadn't picked up that years ago it had changed hands or something. I can't really quite
Yeah.
remember, but it
Things
was something
aren't
like that.
generally in like the village and country homes areas. in comparison to the like town areas
Yeah.
and patches that those offices cover, things aren't as straightforward for us.
No, it's
than
not very
perhaps-
black and white, is it?
It's not as black and white as it is in those offices. Yeah.
And what do
absolutely.
you find is like a really big compromise for people? So do you find that people are really set on living in one village location? Do you find there's more people that are open to that kind of lifestyle? So location wise, it doesn't matter too much. Where are we kind of with that?
I think probably since, over the last couple of years with COVID and businesses kind of realigning and setting new kind of expectations, more people are now working from home than ever. And I do believe that has made people more flexible on the location. So, for example, we might have a thatched place over in Hannington,
Yeah.
but our team in Rawton might have something over there. We can get in touch with those viewers over there and sort of say, look, we have something similar to the one that you're viewing over there, over here. And the people seem much more amenable now to sort of looking at locations.
Yeah.
People don't seem as fixed on, well, I've got to be this side because I need to travel to this place of work 5
Yeah.
days a week. So I do think that opens the pools of buyers up. Like say, having a close relationship with the other village offices is a massive benefit.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, yeah,
'Cause-
huge.
And schools and stuff as well. I guess village schools generally are quite highly regarded. So I suppose if
Yeah.
somebody was quite set on getting their children into a school in, let's say, Rawton, and then something similar came up in Hannington or in Highworth, the chances are they're going to find a primary school or secondary school that's as good as what they were
Yeah.
initially aiming for.
Yeah, we particularly find that with like Fairford, Kempsford, Lechlade, Ashton Keynes. They've
Yeah.
all got highly regarded primary schools that drip feed into farmers and the sixth form there.
Yeah.
Likewise, on the flip side of that, we sell a lot of property in Bourton. You've obviously got Pinewood
Yeah.
School there.
Yeah.
Big private school that.
Big private school there. So you'll get buyers that specifically, my child is going to be at that school
Yeah.
in September.
So I wanna
wanna
live
be
close. Yeah.
Within 10 minutes drive of that school.
Yeah.
So we know that there's an area that we need to find them a house in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not a big area to find people a house in, is it?
No,
Such a
it's
quaint,
not.
cute village.
Yeah. Bourton's lovely. You're over in Bourton, aren't you? Friday, I think.
Hope
Out
so.
on evaluation in Bourton.
So you tell me.
Yeah. he's
Yeah,
in
Fingers crossed.
Bourton's lush. Bourton is so nice.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we like Bourton.
So nice. And you're so close to like Shrivenham and even Womburgh and
Yeah.
Bishopston from there.
Yeah.
So even though
Bishopston.
there's
Love
no...
Bishopston.
That is part of it, though.
Yeah.
We have so many beautiful little villages,
Yeah.
and they've all got their individual character. They've all got like the reasons why people love living in the
Yeah.
village. It is so nice. Like say, every village has got its own unique character.
Yeah, and I think even
to
though
it.
some are more remote in terms of like amenities, like Bourton, you're so close to like I said, Shrivenham, Womburgh, Bishopston, that if you want a pub, you're kind of surrounded by them, really.
Yeah.
Albeit you have to get in a car, but most people, if they could walk, they'd probably still drive anyway now.
Generally, most people, if they want to move on the outskirts or they want to be in a village or a rural location, they are prepared for the fact that they are going to drive to
Somewhere.
most of their bits and pieces
Yeah.
around them. It's like part and parcel of living in a country
Yeah.
property. It's like they come hand in hand, which is, again, why parking quite often is really important if somebody's looking to be in a rural property.
Yeah.
Not always, because a lot of rural properties also don't come with any parking.
Yeah.
But you said about compromise. A lot of things that people are prepared to compromise on will be like on a busy road.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of
Yeah, because out
really
the
nice
back is a
busy
completely
properties.
and out the back's a completely different story, isn't
yeah,
it?
you'll be
So-
stood out in the back garden. It's countryside and
Yeah.
views for miles, but you know you've got the A420 at the front of the house or
Yeah.
something like that. But that's something people are quite often prepared to compromise on.
Yeah, that's a good compromise actually.
Yeah.
And in terms, what I find interesting about the villages is there's random things that you don't hear about. So like, the boys used to go swimming lessons in Bourton at Claycourt Manor. That's run by like a franchise. Lechlade, they have a pool there. Womburgh, they have a pool there. So even all these people that kind of want to be in a village, don't want to have to venture into a town for things like that, there are people that have these swimming pools often hire them out for swimming lessons and stuff. So you've got stuff
we've got
close
one on the market
by.
at the moment in South Marsden, haven't we? with
Yeah,
a pool,
absolutely.
which is used.
Yeah,
For swimming lessons.
yeah, it's so
Yeah.
good, isn't it? And I guess that's the other thing. Pools are like a funny thing here, aren't they? People either really want them or they're like, we don't get enough warm weather, or they're outside and it just doesn't
There are,
work
like,
out.
Loads of clubs and things
Yeah,
for
you
people
can
to
hire
do.
them out
So,
and-
Highworth's got like a little reading club as well. Like visit Highworth, little plug there. Visit Highworth they post regularly on stuff that's happening in the town, and all the different clubs. There's like reading clubs, there's arts groups, there's paintings. They do
The Bowls
they do
Club
guided
that you're
tours. Yeah, we do a nice little
Yeah.
plug there. Well done, thank you very much. So yeah, the Bowls Club, and also like what is massive is Highworth Town Football Club. I mean, if you travel through Highworth at a weekend, it is incredible to see. Just next to it, there you've got there might be sort of 10, 12 different Highworth football teams having their things,
cute.
and it's absolutely just full of kids from like, I think it's 4 upwards, boys and girls
Yeah, lush.
playing football teams, and they've got the little cafe that they open, and
Yeah, that's
there's
really
changing room,
nice,
and
isn't
It is
it?
a big old thing,
But
and
each village sort of seems to have its own little setup in
Community,
that sense.
yeah.
Like Blunsden's really similar in that sense. We've got our little football teams,
which we sponsor.
Which we sponsor.
Little plug, by the way. Congratulations to Blunsden under-13s champions. They were. So they won the league last year, and they went the whole season. I'm going to quote this. They went the whole season undefeated as well. So well done to Blunsden under-13s.
That's very impressive.
yeah, it
It
was
was.
really impressive. Yeah.
It was.
That is really impressive. Yeah. Did you go and watch?
I did actually, yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. So I went a
that's
couple
good.
of times as well. But yeah,
Under
they did
13,
really well.
do they play 90 minutes then? Or do
No,
they play for an
it's,
hour?
it's 30 minutes each
Yeah,
way.
I was going to
Yeah.
say 90 minutes.
Although
is a
I think the
shift,
ref's
isn't it?
watch stopped in one of the games. I think he was it was a title decider on the last game, and he did go a lot into injury
Did
time.
he?
But luckily there was no last minute penalty decision that sort of went against us. So no, they did win the league. So
Yeah, community wise, it's massive in the. I think actually everywhere community wise, it's big.
Yeah.
But I think villages with sponsoring schools and showing up for summer events and
Yeah,
you know,
I just
things
think
like that.
in the villages you've got a slightly smaller population in that specific village
Yeah.
than say you do in like the whole of North Swindon, or
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
example. And you've got one school that serves that, one primary school that serves that whole community.
Yes,
so
yeah.
your mums know each other, and that feeds into clubs, and that feeds into the footballs, and
Yeah, yeah.
that feeds into all these things. Quite often in the villages they'll have little fetes and
Yeah,
little
yeah,
things.
everyone gets involved.
Everyone gets together.
Yeah,
and,
that's really nice. And which office would you say that you work most closely with in terms of an office that's in Swindon, one of our offices that's in Swindon?
I would probably say working with Josh and Izzy mainly out of and the team in North Swindon.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
imagine.
I would say probably North Swindon as well.
We
Yeah.
work really well with them. So we'll see a lot of people maybe selling their homes in Tadpole, Abbey Farm, other parts of North Swindon that maybe are looking to move out.
Yeah, it's quite a common move, that sort of North Swindon to Highworth or
Yeah.
Blunsden,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they
yeah.
get that village life, but still are only 10, 15 minutes from Orbital.
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
That kind of thing. That's quite a common move, isn't
It's quite
it?
good. It works really well because, I say but Josh will text me and vendors details and say, look, we've just sold Mr. and Mrs. Smith's house. They're looking for this. Can you give them a call? We'll give them a call, listen to their requirements, and we'll try and match them up as well. And that seems to work really, really well. And likewise, sometimes we get people coming back into Swindon that have moved out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, we'll pass their details back over to whichever office, whichever area that they're looking in.
Yeah.
But that works really well as well. Especially from a customer service point of view, they get to know about houses, and they understand we understand what they're looking
And
for.
there's obviously been
Yeah.
a bit of a push on downsizing and stuff recently with mortgage rates and whatnot. Have you found that the clients you've dealt with that are downsizing tend to stay in the same area but just want smaller property?
Great question.
Yeah, good question. Highworth, for some reason, yes. People want to stay in Highworth,
Yeah.
generally. Highworth, I would definitely say so. Lechlade, Fairford, Kempsford, I think people are most happy to be in sort of any of those three.
Yeah,
If
fine.
they're looking to do a downsize, they sort of just want to stay in that
Yeah.
sort of area.
I'm going to say yes. I think
people
people
do.
do. I think if it is a financial downsize, they've got their life, their infrastructure, their
Yeah.
support network, the schooling, probably work and everything like that. So it's probably not a huge. They probably just want to find something slightly smaller in the same area because it is purely a financial
Yeah.
move. So
A lot of people also in these village properties want to downsize for a smaller garden. It's really common to go out to somebody
Yeah.
and say, I don't want a garden of this size anymore.
Yeah, fair enough.
But they don't. If they could pick their house up and
Yeah,
move it into a
I
slightly
used to
smaller
hear a lot of that
garden,
as well.
they would.
Yeah.
A lot of it, the motivation is around that garden or the plot or you know, everything
it being
that's
too much
too much to
maintenance.
maintenance. Hedges. I went out to a couple yesterday that have got so much hedgerow around them, and they want to move because they just
Can't bear to do it.
yeah,
It's so
it's a
expensive
lot
as well.
It's a lot to do.
If you've got like conifers or anything, to have them like, I don't know, what do they call it? Pruning?
yeah,
Yeah, we'll go with that.
we'll go with that.
Treated.
yeah,
It's it's such an expensive job.
yeah, it really is.
I think despite everything that is going on in the market, though, we are talking about, you know, people down. There are still people, there is still confidence in the marketplace. People are still buying, you know, we are still selling properties, 6, 7, 8, 9 million pound properties at the moment.
Yeah.
And, you know, the prices have changed. They have. But families are growing. People still need more space.
Yeah, absolutely.
So whilst we are talking about, but there is still confidence in the marketplace. People are still buying these bigger houses as well.
We
So I
seem
think
to be
that's
dealing
important
with
to
a lot
get
of cash
across as
buyers
well.
at the moment. I think they're obviously
I think
taking
villages, generally, you tend to get more people with cash,
yeah,
don't you?
yeah, and I think they're probably taking advantage of the mortgage market at the moment,
Yeah.
where that doesn't affect them.
Yeah, so they can just come in and snap up what they need to snap up.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, slightly lower price point than perhaps
And I
last
think
year.
as well with people buying in villages, they tend to be they tend to know what they're buying. So for example, like with thatched, let's say a thatched cottage, generally I found that the people looking at thatched properties have either lived in one previously
Yeah.
or they were brought up in one or their parents live in one or something that
Yeah.
makes them quite clued up on what
Yeah.
they're taking on. And actually, insurance and stuff now for thatched properties is so different to what it used to be. It's
Oh,
much more
yeah.
reasonable. There's,
Yeah.
you know, lots of things that you can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's always that worry, the knowledge that you guys have over different types of land and setups. The good thing is that people buying those sorts of properties do tend to have some idea of what's going on.
I think that's the same with Grade 2 listed.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you've got a Grade 2 listed that needs a little bit of renovation
Something.
or something doing with
Yeah.
it, it's not quite as straightforward as, well, I'm just going to whack those windows out and
Yeah,
get
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
around and replace them. So I do think a lot of people that buy Grade 2 listed have dealt
Lived
with
in
Grade
one.
2 listed
Yeah.
before, lived in it. Like you said, it might have even just been a parent's house, a grandparent's house.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we tend to do is, if somebody is new to that, then we'll try to give them a little bit of
Educate them as
educations
best as
and
you
guidance
can.
and sort of say, okay, we're not here to tell you what to. Have you considered this
Yeah.
when taking on board that you're going to have to do this certain compliance
Yeah.
things? Are you aware of that? Because the last thing that we want to do is try and agree a sale to somebody. They fall in love with their dream home. They're excited. The vendors are excited of achieving a sale, and
Then they
as it
bottle
goes
it.
along, as it goes through the process, they find out more and more and more, and then have second thoughts and pull out.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that they are sort of comfortable with it and say, like, this is
Yeah.
exactly what we want, and we're fully invested in
And
this.
it is just education that they need, because there's nothing wrong like with a thatched property or Grade 2 listed. It's just it requires effectively more attention, more planning if you're going to do something to it.
Yeah.
And it's just knowing like which routes you have to take, who you need to speak to, isn't it? It's just a little bit more than what it would be on a normal house.
Yeah, and I
really.
think where we deal in these types of properties day in, day out all the time, that's where it comes into its own,
Yeah.
because we are knowledgeable in those areas, and we have contacts that can, if we don't know the answer, we have contacts that we
Yeah.
already have relationships with that can help us find those answers to those questions.
Yeah.
And we've built that over time. So
Yeah, good. Anything else, Mark?
No, just on the education side of things as well. One thing that would go back to one of your previous questions, surveys on older style properties.
Yeah. Good one. Good point.
I mean, having an understanding of, I think, preempting the stuff that is going to come up on an older style cottage,
Yeah.
and being armed with that information in advance. And Charlie touched on it, and she's absolutely right. Having those contacts. So, we know that maybe an older cottage is going to it's going to come up on the survey that there is an element of damp.
Yes. Yeah.
What it doesn't tell you is to what level and what degree
Yeah.
that is. So
Yeah.
we will preempt the buyer and say, look, you're going to have a survey. It is likely that the electrics is going to come up as a red if you're having a home buyer.
Yeah.
So is the heating system.
Yeah.
It's probably going to say there's an element of damp. And if we can do reassurance, we have some fantastic people that we work with that can go around and do proper damp quotes and things like that and look at it. And they'll be able to let you know probably in more detail of how serious that
Yeah.
issue is. And actually,
whether
more
it is an
time-
issue at all or not.
Yeah,
you
because I think
know?
It might
also
be. It might be, there's no
some
issue.
old cottages in the villages were built on chalk, so there has to be a level of damp in the chalk
That's right.
to stop it crumbling effectively.
that's
That sounds
right.
really drastic,
No,
but
no.
it's those sorts of things that you need to know to make
And
it
how
all
many
make
times,
sense.
how many times have we seen there's maybe been a retention put in place where the surveyor's gone out and said, oh, the high levels of damp or whatever in the survey, I'm going to put a retention of £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 on it. And we send the damp surveyor out and they come back and say that there's not a problem or it's minimal in
Yeah.
terms of that. And it's just completely taken off. So,
Yeah.
I think having knowledge of reading many surveys,
Yeah.
I think is helpful because we can preempt buyers in advance of what might come up. But also, we can help them, if they've got any concerns, we can help them with the reassurance of putting them in touch with knowledgeable people in the field that they do, whether that's a structural engineer, whether
Yeah.
that's a damp specialist,
Yeah.
whether
A roofer,
Whatever it is.
whatever it
it
is. Yeah, we've got contacts in
I
most
think
areas.
also things like when people expect EPCs on like grade 2 listed properties, it's like you don't need one.
no, it's not a legal requirement.
It
Yeah.
to have one.
doesn't, and actually you probably don't want to see what the EPC rating's going to be. It's listed for a reason. Just take it on the chin. It's listed. That's kind
Yeah.
of the way it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people don't need to worry about those things if they're educated, do they?
No, they don't. And it goes back to what you were saying, really, that people are normally already
Yeah.
prepared
clued up
for
on
all
it.
of these
Yeah,
things. They
yeah.
tend to have done their research in advance,
So
generally.
What would be your 3 top tips at the moment for somebody wanting to buy, let's say, in your patch, Highworth, Lechlade, Kempsford, Fairford, Waterheaton, Castleton?
I would say, and this maybe necessarily doesn't specifically come down to maybe our patch, but right now, in general, having a clear idea of your 3 things you are prepared to compromise on and
Yeah.
your 3 things you're absolutely not prepared to compromise on.
Yeah.
And having that very clear, and trying to get out and view as much as you can with those points in mind, but
yeah.
trying to keep an open mind at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a fair shout. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would probably say, and have a clear indication of your budget.
Yeah. That's so important.
It's
isn't
really
it?
important, particularly in the village areas. The pricing can be
Very different.
very, very
Yeah.
different. Yeah,
And
from
I
one
think-
area to the next. Again, going back to the closer you move to Cirencester, and again the other way, the closer you move to Oxford,
Yeah.
the pricing gets
And
higher.
I guess it's also potentially having a bit of a backup fund if you are taking on something slightly older or something that requires a little bit more maintenance than.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, yeah. Most people taking on a property that needs work tend to have some sort of savings to conduct
Throw into it. Yeah.
that work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We see a lot of bridging loans, don't we? See a
We
lot
do.
of people doing bridging loans.
Yeah,
Can be quite common,
it can. It can.
especially if they're moving from out of area and so don't want to put their property, sort of, maybe they're in a really sought after area, so they
Yeah.
don't want to put their property straight on the
'Cause of
market,
how
but they're
quickly
looking for
it'll
something
go.
quite specific, maybe
Yeah.
a property with a pool because she's a swim teacher, or
Yeah.
they're looking for somewhere with multiple outbuildings for the business, or
Yeah,
whatever
fine.
that is. They're looking for something quite specific, so they don't want to put their property straight on the market. Bridging loan can be a nice way of actually securing the property that you want, dealing with your property afterwards.
Yeah.
And again, we've got advisors that help
with
us
that.
in those areas.
I think that's always been key. I mean, one of the things at the moment is the mortgage rates are ever changing. And, you might have an agreement in principle. I mean, going back a little while ago when money was at 1.5%, 2% to borrow, there wasn't much fluctuation. So if you had your agreement in principle for 6 months, chances
were
are
good to
when you
go.
went to reapply, I think when the interest rates are changing as often as they have been, understanding the finances and that, what you don't want to do is fall in love with the house that you really want to buy. And then, the rates have changed in that time. And then you haven't spoken to the advisor in a few months. And then you go to put the offer in and you realise that your payments have gone from, I don't know, 1,500 to 1,800.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're thinking, is that doable? Do we want to be at that level? Do we feel comfortable there?
Yeah.
So I think
and
having
1% or 0.5% might not sound like much, but if you're
But
buying
it
at a
is.
level of like 800,000 and you're taking
Yeah,
a loan
that
of
makes a massive-
600 or 700,000
Yeah,
pounds,
makes a huge difference.
It's massive.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive.
Yeah.
I think when the rates started going up, people weren't quite seeing how much of an impact it was. I think obviously it's been like this now for 8, 9, 10 months in terms of the interest rates. And I think obviously if you had to do a remortgage anytime soon or recently, you'll know the actual impact it does. And especially when you're looking to buy, so if you are looking at upsizing, for example, and you look at the new deals that are available and your product's not transferable, and you look at how much that extra money is going to borrow.
Yeah, it makes a massive difference.
I would absolutely make sure that you know what the affordability is. Are you comfortable at that level?
Yeah,
and if you're not, by the way, we have some fantastic brokers, so please just get in touch and we'll put you in touch with them.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, James.